What's up, Banana Bunch? We made it. That's right. Another episode of the Jungle Gyms podcast is upon us. You know the drill. If you're loving the show, tell your friends, and they listen to it. And then they'll hear this part too. And then both of you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. You know, the numbers have been slowing down a little bit on the reviews, but there's still plenty of time to get us to 100 reviews by the end of December. Like, I've been setting that goal for the last couple of weeks. But of course, thank you so much to everyone who's been leaving reviews. It keeps our rankings high, and I want us to be the biggest thing in the food game and in the podcast world. So, what's on the menu for the jungle this week? Well, this is releasing on the week of Thanksgiving, and I'm just hoping that this show can provide you with at the very least, an hour of reprieve from your family and all of the insanity that tends to come with this time of year. So just pop in your AirPods or earbuds or whatever you want to listen to this on and sip on a little mulled cider, huh? Okay. You know, maybe instead of just listening to the show, why don't you come in and visit? You know, you've got family here and everybody's looking for things to do. And I think this is sort of a non-traditional and, in my opinion, a very fun way to spend time with your family. Actually, I had some family visiting this past weekend. So I've actually, as of the day of release, I will have spent the last 10 days straight in the store, which is exactly how I wanted to spend my off time. But I had a great time, actually, you know? I mean, we're not just a regular store, okay? If you're unfamiliar with us, well, you probably are by now because you've been listening to the show. But, you know, drag your family out here. We've got all kinds of stuff. I joke frequently on the show about this, but I'm sitting right now in like a 6,000 square foot toy store that's bigger and crazier than pretty much any other toy store in town. We've got all kinds of stuff. You know, we even source some of our products locally. A few months back, I went with the department manager, Travis, here to one of our local toy and comic expos, and we met a bunch of artists. And we were looking for local toy creators and purveyors, but we mostly found some artists and other fun stuff. But we've been stocking the shelves with all kinds of new stuff. So come in, check that out. You know, we've got a new huge cookware section. And I know that sounds a little non-traditional, but again, you know, that's what we're all doing this time. Yeah, I'm baking my first bundt cake this week after buying a Nordic ware pan from us. And of course, you know, we've got the international foods and treats from all over the world. That's really the thing that separates us from the herd, right? These are things you can't get anywhere else but here or in their point of origin. And the thing is, you know, even if you're really well traveled, I doubt you're flying to Japan this week to go pick up some of your favorite snacks, right? No, you can just come here to Fairfield, Ohio or Eastgate, you know, because we've got 2 locations, and get all that stuff. And it's like, you know, to me, it's a lot of fun stuff to try with your family. It's a conversation piece, and it gets us away from some of the typical topics of conversation around this time of year. I think it'd be a little more fun, you know, a little more direct engagement. You don't have to just play a board game. Make a game out of this. Get something spicy. Get something weird and new and interesting. There's all kinds of stuff. I mean, literally, this is how I'm going to spend my holiday. So on the show, first up, I've invited friend of the show and one of your favorite repeat guests, Phill, our director of development, to help me follow up on the previous few weeks of the Bourbon County Stouts story from Goose Island. Now, the TLDR here, if you're not caught up on previous episodes, is that we are throwing a big beer release party on Black Friday with some very exclusive beers that are literally only available at Jungle Gyms. So get ready to learn all about the brews that you can only get at our party. I know we've talked about, if you want to get a lot of details on that, check out episodes 7 and 8. I've done a lot of content on it here, but there's all kinds of delicious stouts. Again, the only places you can get these are exclusive to Jungle Gyms, and the other place is directly from Goose Island. So again, you don't have to travel, just come here. Unless you're in Chicago, and then I guess you could go to both, perhaps. But I had Phill tell a bunch of cool stories about the L car that we previously owned that Goose Island owns now. So I thought that was a fun little story. But then, after that, I'm bringing back a segment of the taste test, which is one of my favorite bits to do on the show, as I talk a bit about the discovery section of our store. And guess what? If you don't love only listening to the taste test, I also released this segment on our YouTube page. And I've made it super easy for you to jump right into there by visiting our landing page at junglegyms.com/WJJI. And you know what? Of course, you can reach out to me directly if you're struggling with this. Email podcast@junglegyms.com, or you can even call me at 513-674-6855, country code 1. If you feel like leaving a message like, Actually, the first one I got here. Is it a prank call? Probably, but honestly, I'm just so excited that somebody used the hotline. Check this little clip out.
Hi there. I was looking for sea moss. I heard about it on your show. Sea moss, the man kept talking about it. He said it was very good for his joints. Mine aren't so good no more. It hurts to walk. Please help me find them. What aisle are they in? Hello? Hello? Oh, it's my grandson calling. Hold on.
Yeah, definitely feeling prank call vibes. But you know what? Again, thanks for calling and leaving that. Hopefully you got everything you needed from your grandson that called in. But lastly on the show, the entree this week is a sit down with Suzy DeYoung, founder of Soupe. It's a really cool nonprofit that rescues perishable foods from farms and, of course, from jungle gyms. Their highly talented, transformed team of chefs and volunteers transforms this food into healthy soups and meals that are then distributed to roughly 100 share partners that feed the food insecure. It's a really, really noble service, and I know that we here love helping contribute to their success. And it's a great story. Suzy's wonderful. I'm really excited for you to learn about what she does, but also to meet her. Now, of course, if you're one of those people that wants to skip around, I do leave the time codes to the show in the show notes so that you can easily skip to any of the segments that you want to listen to immediately. Otherwise, you just get to hang out with me for a while, which, of course, that's what I want you to do. All right, are you all ready? Let's dive in then. Phill, tell me about that L car. Okay, Phill, so for the last couple weeks, I've talked about the Bourbon County Stout party that we've been planning here for Black Friday and everything. Since this episode's coming out right before that, I finally thought it would be a good time to bring you back in again, although this is going to be a recurring thing. Right. But I figured, I reached out to you. I was like, do you know the story behind the Bourbon County Stout thing? Because I'd heard a rumor about an L car, and I wanted to get the story. So what happened? What? This is another fun jungle story, I'm sure.
Of course, this is, one of those stories like every grocery store has an L car, right? No. So I went over to Eastgate and went up to the office, and I sat down, and Stephanie was sitting next to me, and she was doing our online Twitter. And she's like, somebody just tweeted that we should buy an L car. And I laughed. I'm like, yeah, right. Good luck, right? And I said, that would be awesome. And she's like, no, there's 2 on auction. This guy says we should go on the auction and purchase them. I'm like, oh, okay. So I looked, and I'm like, whoa, there are 2 L cars for sale on an auction. And so I called Jungle, and I explained it to him. And he's like, okay, when you're over here tomorrow, let's look at it. I said, the auction's tomorrow. Yeah. It ends tomorrow. He's like, okay, we'll look at it. So get there in the morning, we look at it, and we're like, yeah, we want this. But prior to that, I had gone out. John was like, how are we going to get it here? I said, I have no idea. So I called the people out at Diamond in Ross, Hokiena area, and they said, oh, yeah, that's way too light for us. I'm like, light? They're heavy haulers, right?
Oh, okay.
It's very specialized. So they said, call Silk Transportation out of New York. They knew it right away. I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, they specialize in rail cars and subway cars. I'm like, oh, okay. So I called the guy, explained it to him where we were. He sent me a quote. So we knew the number going in for freight, which was staggering.
I'm sure. It always feels like that's the name of these stories, is that like getting it here almost costs more than the item itself.
In this case, we thought it was going to, but it ended up, the auction kept running. So, they're very popular. Gosh. So that morning, we started looking at the auction, waited till the last couple minutes, and, somebody made a move. And so we started bidding up, and, we hit our max, and we were like, we're so close. We can't give up now, right? There's only 2 of them. And so we kept bidding until we won 1 of them. So we were all excited, and then we're like, oh, okay, this thing's going to show up now. Now what? So called Silk Transportation, organized it, got with the auction company, and got with the Chicago, I forget what it's called, Transit Authority, I think it is. Sure. And coordinated that pickup, and the L car arrived when it was snowing and cold, and we had everything. We thought we were ready to put this thing. It was really cool. So they pulled it into our shop, and we were going to store it outside. We had these huge metal plates for the trucks, the wheels that sit under the car.
Yeah.
And because we knew it was going to be there a while, we didn't have a clue what we were going to do with it. But, you know, can't design unless you have one, right?
Right, of course.
So if you design, you know, to have a subway car, you'll never get it, right? So
It's very true.
we work in reverse. And
Maybe you're doing it right, though. I mean, I don't have a subway car, you know.
yeah. So it's, you know, he unloaded it. We put it there, took lots of pictures, measured it, and came up with quite a few different designs. A tobacco and cigar lounge was one of the top designs. And, you know, got pushed off to the side because we had a lot of other projects going on. One of them was Eastgate. Small project.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And so... flash forward a couple years, and somebody from Goose Island called. I think his name was Ryan, and said, "Hey, we're calling because we want to buy your subway car." I'm like, "Yeah, right. Yeah, no." He's like, "No, for real. There were only 2 on auction." I'm like, "I know. We were bidding on them." And he's like, "You won one, and a museum won one. We can't buy it from the museum." I'm like, "Well, you can't buy it from us either. We're going to build something out of this thing." And he's like, no, you don't understand. We need this thing. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what are you?" He's like, "We're going to build a bar out of it." I'm like, "Oh, so are we?" Yeah.
Right.
Well, he was relentless. And he's like, we're flying down next week. We'll be down. I was like, yeah, whatever. And, so they showed up and they looked at it and they're like, "Yeah, we want this thing. We're going to cut it in half long ways. And then we're going to cut it again, taking a foot off in the middle, and then put it back together and weld it back together and make this portable bar to travel the country." And we're like, "Well, that would be okay if you had it. You know, it's ours."
Right. Yeah.
But, you know, we finally gave in, and part of the purchase was the stout beer.
Oh, okay. And I was wondering, do you know any of the details as far as what we get from them in regards to the beer?
I don't.
That's okay, though. But that's still such a cool story. It's such an on-brand thing for us. Like,
so, yeah. Then we called Silk Transportation and said, "Hey, we're ready to move our rail car." And help coordinate it with those guys. And then I saw online on their website, the company that did the transformation and Goose Island. Whoa, that thing turned out really cool.
yeah, I saw a couple pictures online. I guess it's like street legal and everything. That kind of blew my mind.
Yeah. Considering the vehicle that brought it here, you know, from Silk and what they turned it into, pretty sharp. Those guys
so
do
cool.
some really cool stuff.
Well, they should bring it back out here.
I know.
That's what I'd like at this point. I'm like, especially if we do the event.
Well, I
you
wanted
know?
Jungle and I wanted to put our names at, you know, somewhere at the bottom, you know, in the purchase. You know, you have to display this was Jungle Gems, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that didn't fly either.
That's disappointing.
But we know, right?
right.
Yeah,
exactly. And now the world knows through the show.
Exactly.
That's so cool. Oh, I wish I'd been here for that. Would you have put the cart here or at Eastgate?
We had drawings for both, and when we were doing the pavilion, we had actually drawn it in over there, but it ate up a lot of the parking lot. So it became very challenging over there. And then we would have had to have Silk move it again, you know, and the cost to move it, you know, 30 minutes away. We could have,
Not worth it.
We could have used a crane to move it on our property here without Silk's help.
Wow. Oh, that's so cool though. Like,
We were probably the only grocery store that owned a monorail and a subway car.
you could have had a whole chain of like a train
A
of different
locomotive.
cars.
That'd
Right.
be awesome.
Exactly. That's next year. That's 2022.
Oh, I love trains. You have no idea.
Hey, I'd be into it, Phil.
Me too.
Look, I mean, I'm just, if I know we talked last time about how we needed the mine car ride, but if we could ride, I mean, obviously the monorail works, but you know, imagine having a train ride to the store.
I know they could do a rail spur, but Fairfield won't move their high school. I swear.
What are they doing?
What do we
there?
have? What we have to deal with?
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
You want to talk about parking lots?
Actually, you know, when you mentioned that a minute ago, I kind of do want to talk about that because one thought I had a bit ago was our parking lot here at Fairfield is much larger than the Eastgate one. Is that right?
That is incorrect.
Really? Okay, then I don't know anything.
It's 1,600 parking spaces at Fairfield in 2011 at Eastgate.
Wow, no kidding.
Yeah.
I didn't realize.
A lot of it's code driven.
Okay.
You have to have X amount of cars per square feet.
Sure.
And over at Eastgate, we acquired what we had, and we actually needed more, so we had to do more. And over time, we've purchased more land over there so that we could do more. So Eastgate was easy. We had the front parking lot, and we had what used to be Big's employee parking in back. Well, we converted the area behind the cinema to be a customer parking and secret entrance is what we called it in the beginning, but it enters into beer, wine, liquor, tobacco, dairy, frozen, cheese shop, that side of the building. You can shop the whole store and exit that store. There's no limit on how many items back there. It gets the locals in and out very quick. And then the front where the yellow monorail is on the big bridge over there, is that one's pretty self-explanatory. It services Crossroads ourselves, all the tenants across, and RJ Cinema, and RJ wraps around the side. RJ's got the cool ice skating rink. If you're listening to this in the winter,
yes, I'm airing it this week, so they should go. It's actually on my list to do, I guess, the weekend after this releases. Right. So maybe if you come out, everyone, you'll see me too.
Oh, awesome! Yeah, if we helped with them transform the whole outside of the cinema and Rincon with outdoor seating for both, ice skating rink in the winter. In the summer, it's this turf area with a lot of picnic tables.
Oh, no kidding.
In the winter,
really cool.
The picnic tables and the fire pits. It's really, really cool.
I had no idea.
If you haven't seen the cinema at Eastgate at our location in a while, you're going to be blown away. The interior is amazing. They got the bar and the whole scene going on in there, and then you could watch a movie. What a concept.
Right. Tell me more about movies, Phill.
Yeah, exactly. So Fairfield parking lot, that's just evolved. So it's 360 degrees at Fairfield. The initial parking lot started on the side with the water scene. That would be what most would call the main parking lot, but it's relevant to the person that shops here. So the parking lot with the water scene actually has our name on a new tree. We've never had our name on the Fairfield location. So putting a tree out in front of the water scene with the giraffe, somebody needs to name the giraffes too, by the way. Have a contest.
Oh, that's a contest. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
So we put our name up there. A good chunk of the people park in that lot, and that is the giraffe parking lot. We've actually named it Giraffe Parking Lot. It's going to be on Google Maps, Giraffe Parking Lot.
I love it.
The giraffes are out there. And then the front parking lot with that is actually by Route 4 is our side entrance in our heads, right? For a lot of customers, that's their front entrance. But that enters into beer, wine, liquor, a lot like Eastgate, cheese shop,
right.
Starbucks, what have you, Jersey Mike's. That one's got very, very limited parking. So if you're coming in for a holiday or, shopping when it's going to be busy, I would park in the Giraffe parking lot. Rhino parking lot is challenging. There's not a lot of parking spaces. And it's pretty much set up for people to come in and out. Starbucks people are just piling in and out of there. So there's a lot of traffic over there. So if you're coming to the Fairfield, I highly suggest the Giraffe. But you can get your picture with the giraffes or the rhinos,
I mean, you could do both, really. We'll just take the lap.
And since we did the addition on the Fairfield property, we used to be able to travel through from the Giraffe parking lot over to the Rhino with the breezeway. That no longer exists. So wherever you enter is where you're going to go out the register. If you go out the wrong register, you got to walk around the building, and it's going to be cold this winter. So pay attention. We've got signage everywhere, but in this building, it's sensory overload.
Sure.
It really is.
Oh, yeah. In a weird way, when you mentioned the two exits, it reminds me of Las Vegas because you don't realize, and I think about this every time I'm driving to work, I was like, you don't realize the scale of the building until you're right on top of it, and you're like, oh, this is massive. So I really do think it's worth driving home that point that, it's not only will it be cold, but it's going to be a pretty good walk to get to the other side of the building.
Yeah. And if it's snowing or whatever.
Oh, yeah. No thanks.
Yeah. It's hard to get a perspective on how big our two stores are unless you're on the roof.
Sure.
Man, the first time I walked to Eastgate Biggs, when it was still Biggs, before we even owned it, I walked through the building and I'm like, okay, yeah, it's big. But I get up on that roof and I'm like, holy smoke. next, let's get out of here.
Right.
Run. Where's the escape hatch? Obviously we didn't, but
Yeah.
that thing's huge.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's massive. I love it. But
yeah, it's a flat roof over there. Here, these roofs are every direction. It's cool.
that was so funny. I loved when you were pointing that out. I'm like, oh wow, I didn't even realize. Thanks, Phill. It's always a pleasure to have you here. All right, so I know I mentioned our discovery section in passing in earlier episodes and at the top of this episode, but to be clear, for those of you who are just jumping in or maybe unaware, we've got this section right near the cash registers called Discoveries, where we create a little appetizer, if you will, a greatest hits section to a theme each month put together by my pal Jim and his team at International. So November's theme is Indian culture, and of course, I wanted to do a little snack taste test. So when you get up there, it's just, again, it's an appetizer, just kind of get you a little excited, a little teaser so that you can go check out the other stuff in the store. And of course, we had a few options up there, but I wanted to get a little extra help in deciding a few ones to start with, and I wanted to make sure they were great ones. So I headed to our Indian section of the store, and I met Shalish, one of our employees in that area from India, who could give me some excellent suggestions. And I think that's one of the coolest things about Jungle Gyms. I'm pretty sure as of my last count, we speak something like 35 different languages in our stores. And that's because we employ a lot of people from the international countries whose products we sell in the store, meaning that we get experience like the one I just mentioned here. Like, you could come in and, just like I did, and get suggestions from people who've likely helped us source these products in the first place. At the very least, they should be experts, right? So on that, let's roll that segment music.
Hey Mark, it's time for the taste test. And now it's time for the taste test.
So as I'm sure I said in the lead up to this, we have a discovery section here at Jungle Gyms where you can try, every month we try to cater to a specific either nationality or some sort of theme. So for the month of November, we've got Indian food. Diwali was at the beginning of the month. And I thought I would try a couple of snack mixes because I love international snacks. And so does the internet. So I thought we'd kick this off. So you can see on my tray here, I've got a couple of these and we cut in. I've got some Bombay mix. I thought that was probably the, quote, safe option. For all of you who are not as adventurous as me, this is Fulvadi, and I'm not entirely sure how to describe what that is yet, but we'll find out at least through taste. And then lastly, aloo bhujia, and aloo is potato, so also that might be safe for all of you. So I thought I'd try a little bit of these. Let's go with the snack mix first, shall we? So in this one, it's very clear. It's crisp noodles, chickpeas, and peanuts. Got kind of like a light, maybe like a garam masala or to the uneducated nose, like a curry smell. That's not entirely accurate, though. Oh, yeah, I like these little crispy noodles. The texture on this one's really interesting. You get a couple things going on. So you've got definitely the strong, what a peanut tastes like, unless you have a nut allergy. I'm sorry, RIP. The crispy noodles, nice. You know what the flavor I get? I kind of thought this would taste a little bit more of like I mentioned, that kind of like masala end of things. There's actually a really strong egg flavor, and I'm happy about that. I love eggs. I'm not sure what that is. I'm going to try and kind of cheat on the back. I'm not sure what it is, but you have the little chickpeas and the little green peas that have been puffed. Those are really good, too. They got nice, you can hear that crunch. That's interesting. I'd be curious for all of your takes on this because that egg flavor really, it's singing to me a little bit. I'm very curious about where that's coming from. Wow. Not very salty. There's a little bit of spice in there. I like that. It smells appetizing. I think my favorite thing in the mix is either the little crispy peas or the crispy noodles. I just like that texture. If I'm looking for a snack, I want that crunch more than anything. That's just me, though. Cool. All right. Bombay mix. So far, so good. I keep going back to it. It's the egg. It's like salty egg. It's almost like if you put egg on popcorn. I know it's a weird way to describe it, but try that. I'm going to actually try that off camera. So up next, I'm going to try this. The next two are from the same brand, Mirch Masala. This last one was from Haldiram's. But I'm curious about this one. So I did a little smell right before, and I'll do it for you all here. So this is interesting to me. I thought it was going to be more spicy, but you get a really strong mint scent. And I know that shows up often in Indian cuisine. And I'm curious if it's going to taste as strongly of mint as it smells, because it is unmistakably like spearmint flavor. It almost smells like gum. Okay, instant thoughts. Texture is exactly what I want out of a snack food. It's super crunchy. You can definitely tell it's made of potato. It's like if somebody did little potato chip crisps together. You get a good strong flavor of the potato. But what I'm noticing is there are some spices in the middle. So like the front end potato chip for like a split second, and it moves into spicy territory. But that mint flavor is just all over this. Like, I can't escape it. It's very heavily on the back end, and you get little hit. Every time I breathe out, I can smell a little, or taste rather, a little of the mint flavor. That's kind of a bummer. I like mint. I like mint things in general. I don't necessarily like it in this. You know, I made the comment a minute ago about gum, but it kind of tastes like I had this delicious kind of what I think the American palate would go, oh, that's what Indian food tastes like. I had like a moment of that, and then it was like, oh, and then I'm chewing gum at the end of it. It's kind of a weird mix, but you know what? That's it. It's weird to me because it's not how I do things, but I want to explore other cultures, and I'm hoping that you do too. So it's interesting, and maybe a lot of you will really like this out there. You know what I think it is more than anything is it's kind of like spearmint, and of the mints, that's like my least favorite one. It's spearmint's like inoffensive. It's soft. It's like, I don't know, it'd be too nice to you. I feel like I could walk all over spearmint, but like a peppermint, for example, is probably getting into a fight after a show. I'm a peppermint guy, if you can't tell. Well, let's move on. Let's try the third one here. This is the Phill, and I'm curious about this one. Chickpea flour, spices, paprika, you know, the usual. But I noticed when I first picked it up, the texture feels different. And when you hold the bag, it almost feels, dare I say, dense. Like it didn't feel the same way the other ones. Like when you pick up snack foods, it's kind of light. It feels like it's even in the bag. This was really weird. It feels very like, it's like I put something heavy in the bag, and it's very like weighted down here. I know that's a strange thing to mention, but okay. First thought, the texture is not quite what I expected. I thought it was going to be crunchier. So now I'm really excited to try this one. That face is, there's no crunch. And you know, I want to tell you I don't like that. It's almost like velvety. It's really kind of dense and not chewy, but it's like soft. Like when I bit on it, I expected a little bit of crunch, not as much as the other things I tried. That's okay. I think that's my favorite flavor-wise out of all of these. It doesn't have a strong smell, but you know what I would like in this too? It tastes like you turn falafel into a snack mix. Yeah, that is hands down my favorite of the bunch as I spit snack food all over myself. Thanks for subscribing. And hello to everybody in the store today. This one is hands down my favorite. Like, but you know, I know I said before, like when I think of snack food, I want something crunchy. I really want that like textural excitement. And even though this doesn't have it, the taste is so good. It was kind of, it met somewhat more of my expectations of what I was going to experience. It's a little spicy, but not super spicy. I'd say this one's, if I went in spice levels here, I'd probably go, honestly, I think the first and second were pretty even keel, that they both had a good bit of spice, all in the back end. It's still strong flavor, but this middle guy, the Fulvadi, excuse me. It's hard to remember pronunciations when you ask somebody to pronounce it and then run back to the studio to do this. And like, is that exactly how they said it? This is dangerous. Like, I'm going to make Lucky, that's helping me shoot this, take this out of the office when we're done, because otherwise I'm going to just keep gaining weight on the show. If you come back out, you know, you'll see the discovery section. It's right up front near the cash registers. Oh, I love this. And like I said, for the month of November, we're going to be featuring Indian cuisine. So you should definitely check that out. I hope this makes it up there. But if not, just go back to the Indian section. You'll find it with the other snack mixes. They were all pretty good. The only one I wouldn't try again was this aloo bhujia. I just didn't. The mint, not doing it for me. But the other two, killer. And you know what? It doesn't matter. I want you all to try this anyway, because just because I don't like it doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that that's not my personal taste. Come in, explore with me, try it all. And if you like this show, make sure you subscribe to the Jungle Gyms podcast. If you want to get involved with it and you're like, Mark, I think you should try this next time, right down here, you can see it, is my email address, podcast@junglegyms.com. Hit me up. Tell me what you want to see. Tell me what you want to see on the show or listen to on the show. Tell me what kind of videos you want to see from me. I want to make this all for all of you. And when you come in next time, come in and pick one of your favorite Indian snacks, bring it by the booth, and we can eat it and, I don't know, shake hands or something. Sound good? Great. If you enjoyed the taste test, make sure to tune in to the Jungle Gyms podcast wherever you get podcasts. New episodes come out on Wednesdays. I love doing the taste test. One more reminder here that you can go to junglegyms.com/WJJI and go right to the show on any podcast platform you like, as well as on YouTube. And we even made a separate YouTube button for a specific playlist that is just our taste test video segments. I highly recommend it on this one, and honestly, all of them. It plays well in audio, but I think it's even better in video. That way you get to see the snacks in person, so you get some of the visual cues, all that fun stuff. I'm really looking forward to some upcoming episodes where I'm bringing a little more of the test element into it, where I can challenge myself to guess what I'm eating. That said, you can also look forward to an upcoming suggestion from international produce queen Lucia, and it's one of my favorite things that I've gotten to try so far. So, this is a good way for you to subscribe and listen to future episodes. Okay, everyone, it's time for our main course. So I got connected to Suzy from Soupe early on in my time here at the Jungle, and we were finally able to set this up officially. I want to give a huge thanks to Joni for getting me connected with Suzy, as I totally agreed with her that Soupe's story was one that needed to be told, especially as we had such a big hand in helping them rescue food that's gone on to feed the underprivileged. In true jungle fashion, however, this interview turned out a little extra fun thanks to a random customer sneaking into the interview itself towards the end. But you know what? Don't take this story from me. Meet Suzy DeYoung. So I'm here with Suzy from Soupe. Thank you for coming in.
I'm very fortunate to come in. Thank you, Mark.
You're so nice. I appreciate that already. This is going to go great.
It is great.
Well, so I've been doing my research as I tend to do on these shows. But in case the audience doesn't want to hear me just spiel it out, tell me a little bit about what you do.
So I am a retired chef. I had La Petite Pierre for almost 25, 30 years. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of a boutique-y, high-end, I couldn't afford my own food kind of place. Like when you can't afford your own catering kind of place. Perfect. And I'm a third-generation chef. So my grandfather was the chef at the Union Club, which was like the La-di-da men club. Okay. Where he cooked for Eisenhower, Kennedy, all the celebrity kind of political figures. Sure. And then my dad was the first chef at the Maisonette, which, if you're not from here.
It was still here when I got here, though.
Okay, yeah. So the Maisonette was the longest standing, 41 years of mobile 5-star restaurant. So he got the first 5 stars, but he passed very young. He was in his 40s, died of cancer when I was 13. And so, because I couldn't figure out anything else, I wasn't good at school. I was a really good volleyball player. That's about the only talent I had. But I went to school not for cooking. I wish I would have. But I found out pretty quickly I was working in a kitchen. I was waiting tables at night, making real money, but prepping during the morning before class. Yeah. So I've always been involved at some level in the restaurant world. We call it a genetic disorder.
I thought that was the funniest thing reading through your site when you called it that. I was just going to bring that up. It cracked me up.
I had somebody say to me that they were offended by it because people that have genetic disorders. And I said, really, you have to understand it's not really something you want for your child. So I'm not happy that I have a child that has the gene because I know what life he has in front of them. Yeah. It's a hard life. It's nights. You miss every event in your family and friends' life. Sure. You've got to be willing to give a lot up. And I was, and I did it. And I did it well and passionately. I loved it. But then I like classic case of burnout, classic case of I had a lot of physical things that were going wrong, and knowing that I'm not going to be the person behind the stove much longer. I'm not going to be able to physically.
Yeah.
So I really always wondered what happened to the food that people didn't buy.
Right.
And so I was lucky enough to talk to a woman. I cyber-stalked her, actually. Her name's Lynn Marmer. She looked like a nice lady in the paper, and she worked for Kroger, and she looked like she was really important for Kroger. So I cyber-stalked her for a while until she met with me.
Yeah.
And she agreed to allow me to rescue 2, and I use the word rescue, meaning I know that there's food that you waste. Can I see what it is, and can I possibly take that? In the beginning, I set it up as a Tom's shoe model.
Okay.
If you come into the storefront and buy a soup, I'll give a soup.
Yeah.
It seemed like, well, Tom's Shoes did it. That
Right.
should
No,
work here.
smart idea. Yeah.
And so I was a for-profit. And that was the big deal for Kroger's, to allow food to go to a for-profit. But the reason it was a for-profit, well, there was lots of reasons, but the main is this was like totally unknown territory. And how do you do this, like, and be a nonprofit when I had never worked as a nonprofit? I didn't know. I mean, there was enough unknowns. I didn't need that.
Yeah.
So that's why we started as a for-profit. And then quickly, after self-funding myself for the first 2 years, like, maybe that wasn't the smartest decision. And because I knew so many people that wanted to help, but they're not going to give me a large donation if it's not tax deductible.
Right.
So it was kind of driven by necessity, and the model was working.
Yeah.
We were feeding a lot of people. So to grow it seemed like that was the way to go.
Yeah, I loved reading that story that you told about I forget what school it was. I'm trying to like sneak off my notes here. And yeah. But seeing that, like, heartbreaking just to read that we struggle so much with like underage poverty like that too.
Right.
But hearing that story and how it motivated you, I thought was so wonderful.
And crazy.
Yeah.
I was a crazy lady, for sure. Like, I mean, I think back to that, and I question. I'm like, why did the police officer come over and ask me what am I doing? And I'm like, oh, I just had a Facebook post that somebody posted about the kids being hungry, so I brought a bunch of soup, and nobody stopped me. Nobody asked for credentials. Nobody. I'm like, okay, well, so you don't know what you don't know. But I am kind of one of those people that when I hear of something where I think I can help, I just do it. And I know a lot of people kind of go, well, they might not want, and you second guess. I kind of just do things.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, that's just kind of the way I've always operated. I say yes to pretty much anything, figuring maybe if you say yes, you'll figure out the answer versus saying no because you don't have the answer. And I think that's really the way I've always kind of approached my life. Yeah, we can do that. How are we going to do it? I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Right.
And then that's the way I've always operated.
Yeah, what a great mentality too. I mean, it's that you're doing a positive thing in the first place, so I think it's just going to ultimately work out in a weird way anyway. But I really love this idea that it's just like, just dive in. You'll figure it out.
Well, food insecurity, food banking, all of that stuff, especially during the pandemic, it exposed ridiculously long, complicated issues with the way that we've done, just like anything.
Right.
We haven't really moved the needle on this. And I just feel like unless other people start trying other ideas, we're never going to move the needle on it.
Yeah.
And, whether one of the ideas sticks and La Soupe stuck, but I'm trying to think which program that we killed pretty quickly. We really have a pretty good track record when we dive in. I think one of them, the Cincinnati Gives a Crock program, that was... But that was at Euler as well.
Oh, okay.
And it became that kids wanted to learn how to cook because you have to kind of keep taking a step back. So why do we not have kids wanting to work in restaurants? Why is the restaurant world looking for employees? One of the things I found is at Euler, these kids have never had real food. They've never eaten in a restaurant and I call real food meaning homemade,
right.
Like not fast food, somebody like identifying a smell in your home when you walk in. One of the first questions I asked them was, well, what's like when you walk in after school, do you ever get super excited because you smell something that your mom's cooking and you're like, oh, great, we're having lasagna tonight, or, and not one of them had a food memory. And, like I grew up, obviously, he worked all the time, but my mom was a really great chef.
Yeah.
So, or not chef, but she was a good home cook, and she cooked every night. We didn't order in. We didn't do that. So I had lots of food memories, and I thought it's just kind of sad that they don't, sad. And they don't know what they don't know. So why would they want to learn how to cook if they've never eaten food to pose the question in their head? Like, wow, this is really good. Where do I get this? I can make it?
Yeah.
How do I make it? So it really was very organic. But then when I asked them, I showed them how to make rice. Mm-hmm. And I asked them which way they were going to make it at the end of the class, rice on the stove or rice in the oven. And I got blank stares. And I was like, well, just show of hands. Nobody raised their hands and nobody would make eye contact with me. And it was because nobody had a stove. Well, one of the kids did, but they didn't want to admit that. And then I asked them, I'm like, well, what have you been doing with the food when I send it home?
Right.
Like this, it's not for me. This is like trying to help you guys. Like if we don't have a relationship where you're telling me, Miss DeYoung, we don't have a stove. What do I do if I don't have it? I mean, you got to tell me. Right. So it became apparent. And so it was like, I'm not going to kill the program. We got to tweak it. So we tweaked it and came up with Cincinnati Gives a Crock. I think this semester, whatever the schools are on now, we were in 5 different schools. We have requests to do them pretty much in every public school.
Yeah, of course.
But, finding the people that want to, because we use volunteer mom cooks, basically.
Right.
There's set recipes. There's a lot of organization to go into it. So, and a lot of volunteers don't want to commit to 8 weeks every Tuesday, so, which is fine. I understand it. So we're going to not go back to the drawing board. We're just going to try to think another creative way that we can keep this program and expand it in a more natural way. So
it's really interesting. And I'm just sitting here thinking from like, is there a technological angle on that? That would be fun, like maybe you all do the training via video.
Well, and we did virtual through COVID.
Okay.
We did a lot virtual, and that was really kind of fun because they were filming, and we moved from 900 square feet, and then last year we finally got the commissary big ass kitchen built, and we have a little cooking studio there.
Oh, that's so cool.
So they can set up the cameras, teach, right there. And just seeing all the kids like logging on, and it was cool. But how do we get it? We have to have them shop for themselves. But that was all through COVID. They weren't going to the school. Right. They still wanted to take the class.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's amazing though. That's gotta make you feel good too. I mean,
it
definitely make an impact.
Yeah.
It's funny that you say that too, because I'm like now even just thinking about people I know who are like, people in their 30s who are still just like, you cook at home? And I'm like, you don't, and you never think about it. Right. And there's that, like, it's almost like speaking a language in a way, right? Where you don't know what you don't know. Or
music. I said the same thing to the kids about music. I'm like, do you have music? Like, I grew up like a weirdo because my father was French. I then found the album every Christmas, 60 French girls singing French Christmas carols. But that's what we had on our little, the little LP spinning on the stereo.
I was gonna say, I'm looking up that vinyl after this interview.
And I am like, that was my Christmas, but that was the music that I heard, and it evokes a memory.
Right.
And the fact that these kids don't have food-related memory, like, music we know is therapeutic. You talk to people in music therapy, dealing with elderly, everybody has a music memory.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I have food memories.
Right.
Like, I'll never eat chicken and stars. Why? Because I puked on it when I was first grader, and it's like
That'll do it.
You don't forget it. That
Right.
was 60 years ago, but
Yeah, that's really funny though,
Yeah.
too. You're so right. And now I'm thinking about it too, where I'm like, all of my, I had the same thing where it was like my grandmother loved cooking for the big family events. And that was what started my love of food. Was like one year, my family all went to the Macy's Day Parade, and then I stayed. I was like, I don't want to get up at 5 a.m. to go sit outside in the cold. That sounds terrible. Grandma and I are going to hang out, and she's going to teach me everything to make it Thanksgiving.
And we're going to watch it on TV.
Right. It was perfect. I missed out on all the good celebrity watching, or, whatever
Right.
1995 celebrities were there. But I think about that a lot. And, as soon as you mentioned the food memory in regards to the smell, instantly I could smell her kitchen in the city,
Right.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
weird. And so what a wonderful thing that you're doing for these kids.
Yeah,
That's so
well, and
amazing.
that's just one aspect of it.
Yeah.
The mission, the three-pronged mission to start was to rescue food, to transform the food, and share it. Because part of my theory was that, I guess it proved true, is I have money, I have means.
Mm-hmm.
I'm busy, so I go to a drive-through, or I order, sushi. I order I don't go to drive-through. Why did I even say that? I really don't.
Yeah,
I'm
you
not
didn't
a
impress me
fast,
as someone that,
I'm not a fast food person, never have been.
I like it about you
but
already.
Carry out, yes.
Sure.
Like I order dinner, from a handful of restaurants, and that I do that when I'm hard pressed for time, and I'm thinking
course.
people in poverty don't have that option.
Right.
Like, and they could be busier than you and I.
Yeah.
They could be holding down 2 or 3 jobs, and nobody is helping them put a decent meal on the table.
Yeah.
So it was kind of with that theory, and then the waste issue. Because when I started 7 years ago, front page of the paper was 40%, and it's still the same darn statistic. I don't think we've moved that needle either.
Really?
40% of the food produced in America goes to the landfill.
Insane.
So, to me, if you can take 10% of that and not send it to a landfill and get it to people in a mindful, caring, and the one thing I think we do differently than most places is we can almost give culturally sensitive, knowing what part of town we're going to, knowing if it's mostly Hispanic or mostly refugee population, which there are pockets of.
Of course.
If you recognize that, they don't cook from cans. They don't even know that the food in the picture on the can is in the can.
Right.
And nobody thought to give these people can openers. Found that out to be true.
Yeah.
I mean, go figure, right? Like a can opener. You're going to the food pantry, but like, this is how you get food in America. Here's your store.
Right.
Take it. It's free. You don't have to do anything, but, you need this instrument. So, I mean, just knowing and understanding and not saying we can't help. So when we rescue, like Jungle, from Jungle Gyms, that food comes in, we weigh it immediately. So we know exactly how many pounds we've gotten.
Okay.
Then we have our team of, we call them the sorters, the produce sorters.
Yeah.
And they decide, they're all Serve Safe certified. They've all been schooled. And if you would put it on your table, it goes directly to a food pantry because it's perfect.
Yeah.
But if it's not perfect, doesn't mean it's not edible. It
Right.
just means it could be in the scratch and dent aisle.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
But does that mean it's bad? No.
No.
For what purpose? You can, and soup is easy to stretch. I love it because you can create literally anything. And I love, like, symbolically or metaphorically sharing a bowl of soup. It's like down to earth, homemade, creating one bowl for everybody. It doesn't matter that you're a have and I'm a have not.
Right.
Everybody at La Soup gets the same soup. You come in the front door and you can buy the quart.
Right.
Because then I can give the other 90% that's going to go out the back door. It doesn't fund the mission. It's not enough to bring it in. It's not meant to be, but it's more to kind of keep the story consistent that this food is totally fine.
Right.
Give it to trained professionals in a Serve Safe, Board of Health approved kitchen.
Right.
And let them create with it. And then you also get really great chefs because our team are kick ass, some of
Yeah.
the best in the business. What can we give them? 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, no weekends, no nights, and no can opening. You can actually create. You're allowed to cook with fresh food, and the more creative you are, the better it is for us. So we attract creatives.
Cool.
And mission-driven, I would say, definitely mission-driven group of people that really
amazing.
just like to use their talent. And you'll see. I mean, you've got to come by. But it's a really positive vibe. I had a guy come in yesterday off the street and asked if he wanted an application for a dishwasher.
Yeah.
And we weren't hiring, which is unbelievable. Can't believe it. I said that.
Yeah.
But I didn't know he was applying at the time. I was doing something else. And then I saw him walking by the front window, and I said to the girl at the desk, "What did he want?" She said, "Oh, I got him a job application. I told him we weren't hiring." And I went running after him.
Yeah.
Because one of my friends desperately needs a dishwasher.
Yeah.
And so I ran after him, and I introduced myself. His name was Steve. And I said, "Steve, how did you hear about us? Why did you just stop in?" And he goes, "Well, my bus driver on this route told me that everybody in that building is really nice."
Aww.
And I thought, wow, the bus driver. I mean, I just waved to him when I crossed the street because there's 20,000, we're right on the bus stops in front of us.
Yeah.
So we see him every day and we all wave and, from the window. And I thought, well, that's really kind. So hopefully he'll show up at the other restaurant that's around the corner from us. And
That'd
I'm
be
like,
amazing.
you could get a job there. And his question was, are they as nice as you guys? And I said,
close.
I don't know. They're pretty nice people. They're good friends of mine. I like them. So
It's somewhat disappointing in a weird way to be like, just being decent to other people is viewed as such a, you know what I mean? Like,
well, to have the reputation of that and
Right.
to have the volunteers, like there's times the energy, if you go in there feeling low, you will not leave feeling low.
I love that.
There's always a positive spin or positive something that happens that just has people laughing. And, I don't dread going to work anymore. I really love my job. I love the people that work with us. And we've attracted I say the best in the business, just all the way around. And almost every single person that works for us volunteered at some level at some point for us.
Yeah.
We have a couple of out-of-towners. They didn't. But their person that introduced me to them did.
Oh, yeah.
So, by default, they were a volunteer by blood relative or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
That works. That counts.
yeah,
still,
it counts. It should count. Right.
Too funny.
Yeah.
How did you get linked up with us here at the Jungle?
I met Joni and Jim years ago and at a mutual friend of ours' house. And I said our first location was in Newtown. Mm-hmm. And as we were growing at the Kroger God that let me rescue those couple of places, we got to the place that it was like we had signed up for this app called Food Rescue US,
Okay.
which was a godsend for us. Like it was 7 years ago. Mm-hmm. Now there's probably 400 apps on the globe.
Sure.
I don't know. But 7 years ago, there wasn't.
Yeah.
And I saw that they were using the app in Columbus. So the first thing was to see if they would license us or allow us to use this app, which up until today, 7 years, we still haven't paid a dime for the app. And
just to be clear, what is the app?
The app will tell us where and what time and how much food to pick up.
Oh, okay.
So like we'll load up Jungle Jim's Eastgate every day, 10 o'clock.
Okay.
And then volunteers load the app on and they look and then they sign up to pick up that food.
Cool.
And then all that food comes directly to us. We don't do anything that we call direct donate, meaning it would go to Jungle straight to a food pantry.
Right.
Because we did do that.
Yeah.
But we pivoted and we recognized the fact that really we want to see all the food to again, so that these pantries that have 3 people working there don't have the labor to sort through it.
Sure.
And just because somebody doesn't buy it doesn't mean it isn't good.
Right.
So, we opted to do that. So I reached out to Joni and said, if you have anything, and I do not, if you have people picking up everything, do not shuffle the deck. Right. Not for me. I'm like, no, we're trying to find the food that isn't being taken care of.
Right.
And so she fit us in the schedule. It's not like we're here every day.
Yeah.
But she managed to work her Joni magic.
Yeah, she's magical too.
She is.
I find that about the whole family so far.
I'm kind of
actually.
thinking so.
Yeah. So it must be that's their genetic disorder.
They have a genetic disorder. They do. Crazy people. Yeah. In a good way.
No, of course, in the best way.
In a good way.
Yeah. No, I find that it was one of the things I think I was telling you off air that, leading up to this, when they had mentioned I was doing a piece on one of the old produce giants as he was leaving the company or retiring finally.
Willie?
Oh my gosh, why am I not? Oh, Dave Brossart.
Okay.
And Dave, I think we had been here 40 something years, and we did, a whole thing. It was wild. So I've released one of the episodes, but then actually Dave, Jungle, and I, and AJ, who's the current produce manager here,
right?
All of us got in there, and at some point the waste issue came up, and that's something I'm really just curious about, right? Because for me, I've been in the retail space before, but never in the food space, or at least not in the market game.
Right.
So I was so curious as to,
it's consumer driven. Mm-hmm. It is not the grocery store's issue. It's consumer driven.
Yeah.
You and I want to see every single thing in its best form.
Of course. Right.
That's just
it's like the unfortunate human nature of it, right?
It is.
Like,
but does that
banana.
say the other banana isn't valuable? No. So it might not be valuable to eat raw. Or as is, it might be better in a cookie or a shake because it's overripe, but it doesn't, So, and the expiration, like if you put me on a soapbox, don't get me going on the sell by, expired by.
Oh, I know. That's a soapbox I will gladly stand with you on now.
Oh, my God. We did a taste test of 1-year-old potato chips with a bunch of chefs just to say, tell me what you like or you don't like. Is it still, we didn't tell them it was a year old.
Yeah.
We just
describe it. Right.
Not one of them. So it's really wonderful for a manufacturer to know that every single store on March 1st is going to throw away all their potato chips, and then we know what we have to manufacture.
Right.
It just gives them a better idea of quantity.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with, for God's sake, we can stuff to keep for years.
Right.
But
still slap them.
We are still saying it expired. Really? So I ended up becoming kind of, I don't want to say a lobbyist, but I did go to Washington on more than one occasion.
That's awesome.
Went to Harvard Food Policy and Law to really understand what is this and why?
Yeah.
Like, I don't, in order to be better at the job that we're doing, we look at recalls first thing in the morning, and and we insisted on being inspected by the Board of Health. They didn't want to inspect us,
Really?
No, because you give food away. We don't care. If you can give anything away.
I guess so, yeah.
So, but I'm like, no, we're going to sell it.
Right.
We're selling it out the front door. We don't sell a lot.
Yeah.
But it's meant to say, it's perfectly good. This potato soup, this dinner that you thought was delicious we gave 200 portions to the food insecure. If you think it's delicious, hopefully they do too.
Of course. I know I joked with you off air too about this. So I'll say it here. I literally had no idea there was a front door on that. And I was so focused on the mission. I was like, what a great cause. We got to tell the world about this. And then I started going through this afternoon like,
it was funny. We did do, and because of COVID, of course, we had to shift and timing of a lot of things that we had hoped to do. Hasn't even still launched. But one of the things that we did do, it was a fundraiser for us like 3 years ago, where different chefs in the city donated a dinner in somebody's home. Well, one of the chefs couldn't do it because COVID and shutting down one restaurant and just stuff happened. His life got busy. He couldn't honor it. So I'm like, well, we'll honor it. Bring your team in here.
Yeah.
And the team cooked a 6-course, like, I hate to say it would have rivaled any restaurant in the city, like absolutely beautiful dishes. And then you say, and it was all rescued food. Like, we didn't buy anything.
Yeah.
We want to show you what can happen when you put professionals and task them with this food. I mean, and the pantry alone, oh my God, I love it.
Yeah.
You know?
It seems like it like appeals to their passions, you know, and I've assumed most people share that, you know. They want to share the love of food.
You know, if you walk into the kitchen on most days, I don't think you're going to go, oh my gosh, they're dealing with all this rotting broccoli, or you're not going to say that. You're just going to go, why do you have 60 cases of broccoli? Like, if anything, I feel like it raises questions, and the more questions that are asked, maybe like the movement of this is so stupid, and it is. It's just the dumbest thing.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be this difficult to solve.
Right.
And create a business model literally using that food to feed people, because that's why it was grown. I don't, you know.
Right.
My mind is pretty simple.
I appreciate that though. And
It's not, I mean, it's complicated to think about all the aspects, but in its rawest form, it's really a simple, like, take pile A, cook it, and give it to pile B. Oh,
seems pretty simple.
Rescue,
right.
transform, share. We added education, inspire, and nourish to our mission because we've always done education.
Right.
So it was kind of, we need to get that in there. And we've inspired so many people to think about what they're consuming in their home. Yeah. Changing shopper behavior at that level can be a huge impact. We have pig farmers. You know, what we can't use, we have pig farmers that pick up, they take it, and we also found a wolf sanctuary that gets all the raw, unprocessed, uncooked meat. So a lot of the food pantries know we go there. So if they get freezer burnt meat, they know that they can send it to us and we'll get it down to the wolf sanctuary. Again, it doesn't go to the landfill, and that's the mission. It's like there's plenty of viable option out there.
There's so many mouths that are willing, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, and it's so weird that we've, you know, and this is now maybe me getting my soapbox a little bit, but we build these like obstacles for no real reason. And, you know, again, like you said,
it totally
at
is.
its simplest level, it seems so easy.
Yeah.
And
take the food from A, cook it, and give it to B.
Right. That's why we need innovators like you to take charge and
my
lead,
brain's
you know?
pretty simple.
But look, you're doing the right thing.
And I did, you know, and I do feel like people that have been hanging in the nonprofit space and learned and studied, and they probably know way more than I do. But I just mean, I don't think like, oh, it cannot be done because somebody did it and it didn't work. Well, but there's so many components to it.
Yeah.
And did it really not work, or did they not ask the client what they wanted? Like, we almost have a click list on the back dock now. If you have a food pantry and you know you always need bread, you always need produce, you really don't have very much freezer space, so we can only take about 20 quarts of soup a week, you can tell us. So be part of the conversation. Don't just say, hey, it's free. We'll take anything. We don't care.
Right.
And 20 pounds of food arrives at your door, and you've got one bunch of bananas that's decent. But hey, it's free. It was going to landfill anyway. It beats a blank.
Yeah.
If you take that mentality, I feel like you're not really thinking it through the way that we thought it through.
Right.
And, you know, I think there's some rationale for some, like, ready-to-eat food. I have no problem with. Like, we can't transform it.
Right.
And half of the food insecure soup kitchens also are now doing grab and goes. Like, if you eat there, you also can leave with a sandwich, because you at least, like at a couple of the places we know, majority of their clientele is homeless. So give them a sandwich so they have something after hours.
Yeah.
So grab and go, you know, sandwiches, Panera, UDF, anybody that does the pre-made sealed sandwiches, that would be a great use to just give it away the way it is, because nothing else is going to happen to it.
Yeah, of course.
But any produce, meats, we don't get a lot of fish, but every once in a while.
Sure.
You know?
I feel like with fish is probably tough too, because of the somewhat almost instantaneous turn. It's like perfect.
Exactly.
And then it could be an hour and it's no longer.
So we don't really deal with that. Every once in a while, like I said, when the restaurants closed down, we got a lot of fish.
Sure.
A lot of the restaurants that had frozen fish in the freezer, we had quite a bit come through the door, and we did with it what we could.
Yeah.
So,
what are some of the biggest challenges that you run into? And I'm thinking of framing this in regards to like I'm assuming the listeners are like, I want to help now, right? Like, what would be?
It sounds so gross when you go, we need money, but
but
that is something that, but if you don't have money, you can always volunteer. There's so many opportunities in-house.
Yeah.
Like I said, we have a guy, Irish John, I'm talking to you, who comes in Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. He has produced over 300 different soups on his own. He owns this one little corner of the kitchen, and when he's there, he can make up to 3 different tilt skillets worth of soup, meaning he can go up to 100 gallons of soup on his shift, and he shows up every Monday. He's staff. He just doesn't get a paycheck.
Sure.
He's treated as staff and thought of as staff. We have a lot of people like that have been with us, and I hate to say it, but it's kind of like, it's kind of a weird dream of a lot of people to work in a professional kitchen.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to see the behind the scenes of, this restaurant. Well, now they get to be in it.
Right.
And they like it. And anybody can chop heads of cauliflower and broccoli, and they like the fact that they can use their time. Other people like just moving the food, so when you volunteer, you can just sign up to take up a run.
Yeah.
We have the Cincinnati Give a Crock, volunteers. Last week we had stuffing envelope party. That was kind of fun.
Because it's so close to Thanksgiving, I'm like, stuffing
envelope. It was the winner
of
appeal. And I just think, but being a voice to say, like, if you're in a company match, see if Le Soupe is on your company match. It's a great way to support us. You're going to support somebody anyway.
Right.
That was a big lesson for me, honestly, because I'm not used to asking people for things. I kind of just go work.
Right.
But with this, you really have to get to know the foundations that give money and then tell the story so that they understand what they're giving to and be the best storyteller, basically, to get the most bang for the buck. And the more we grow, we're already going to be adding on.
Oh, wow. So that's amazing.
A year later, we're out of, we need freezer and refrigerator space because you don't know the pinch points of when you build something like this.
Yeah.
And the one thing we didn't really put into consideration by having 2 hotlines, not just one, and all these really talented chefs and volunteers, they can make a lot of soup. They can make a lot of meals really, really fast. But if we don't have somewhere, we distribute by frozen only, unless it's obviously salad.
Right.
And we do get really wonderful donations from 80 Acres and Root House and, all year grow factories that we get lots from. And so
More
if
friends
we
of the
can,
jungle.
and if we can, I know Root House, I know he's
They're
got his
amazing. And
fish
80
here.
Acres too. It's
yeah,
so cool.
they both do. So, it's been an awesome way to be able to give fresh greens. We have a Friday give that we go to the Walnut Hills, the old Kroger's there, and we set up a market, and it's all free. And we try to teach people, this is what a parsnip is. Do you like carrots? Do you, saute it while you're there, have them try it, then they'll take it home to cook. So it's really just trying to show, it's kind of like almost going back in time is what I said. Didn't we do this 50 years ago? Like, we didn't have grocery stores the size of Jungle Jim's.
Right.
We had a little mom and pop joint. And that mom and pop joint is, had a little truck and it went to the villages or
And they were pulling the educate, inspire, nourish.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But this is the kind of like, these are the things I wish we were socially more nostalgic for,
But I feel like we are.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh,
I think they want to talk
today's
to
visitors.
you.
Yeah, right.
Today's visitors. Come on, man. Come on, man. You need me on the show.
What do you do? What? Mexican culture. I was like,
Mexican culture. Come on in.
Yeah, exactly.
We got a big group out there
no,
now.
I'm like, I wasn't anticipating this in the
This is
middle of it.
kinda
I'm like,
fun.
oh yeah. We're like, oh. This is the fun part of the jungle, are these moments where we have like an
I
interview
like
going
it.
on, and then me
I want
too.
to ask them too. Like, does one of the shelters that we go to is almost all Hispanic, and they told us to quit bringing bread because nobody in Hispanic culture eats bread. They only want tortillas.
Come in for a second. Okay,
They're
let's
in.
try
They're
this.
in. They feel like they won the lottery.
Yeah, being in the lottery. I was
this
like,
is
okay.
hysterical. Hi guys.
How are we doing today?
Good. How are you doing?
Good.
Doing good. You guys
Feel free to have a seat at the end. I'll give you a little rundown. So we're in the middle of an interview, but I think we can make this work. This is the fun part of the jungle.
that is, yeah.
This is. Did you come here just for this? To get on air?
I've come here a couple of times hoping that he would be in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah.
You remember me?
Yeah, I hope so at least. No, I'm just kidding. I know. I was if you want, pull the mic up. You want to just bring it up to you like this. All right. Well, state your name real fast for me. You don't have to give your full name or anything, but just so I don't call you in person.
Yeah. Yeah. My name's Jair. Jay with a J. You know, my name is actually like the common way to in Hispanics is with a Y. Y-A-I-R.
Okay.
But mine, you know, it got misspelled while doing the whole paperwork and everything. So
Sure.
it's with a J.
It tends
Where
to
are
be a
you
common
from?
story.
Yeah.
Where are you from?
Here. Yeah.
From here.
I got Mexican heritage though.
Okay.
You know,
That's so cool.
What is it? Not heritage.
Genetic. Well,
I guess
what-
heritage works, right?
Culture.
Culture, I guess.
We'll take it.
Yeah.
Well, so we were talking. So Suzy runs a kitchen here in town called La Soupe, and we were talking all about like produce and stuff. You had a question actually. I thought I would let you maybe lead with.
So one of the question. So what we do is we rescue food from places like Jungle Gym. So whatever they don't sell, we pick up and we bring it back to our place, and we create meals and soups with it. Okay, and then we donate those meals and those soups to people living in food insecurity.
Oh, gotcha.
So we go to a lot of shelters. We have over 100 partners of places that we share. One of the places is on the west side of Cincinnati. It's almost 100% Hispanic. And they told us to quit bringing bread because we only want tortillas because we eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner always has a tortilla. Is this true?
This is true. Yeah. Pretty much with every meal we eat tortillas. Whatever it is, it's as Mexican as it gets.
Thank you for verifying that because
it's true.
we have.
It's
I mean,
official.
I'm just listening to their. That's what they want, and they also said that we don't like canned food. We only want fresh food because we like to
a little
cook.
picky though. You know.
No, well, that's what they're refugees that have never used cans,
Oh, okay.
so
Okay.
they would like just fresh produce because that's what they're used to cooking with.
That's fair. You know, fresh produce.
But you're not straight from Mexico. You're second generation,
I
right?
guess. Yeah, you could call it that.
So that might be why.
A little of the American influence in
A
there.
little bit in there, you know, a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
The melting pot.
I was just going to say that's the American way.
Yeah.
It really is.
Right.
A little sprinkle, a little seasoning, spice it
gotta,
up.
Gotta spice it up here and there.
Are you in high school, college?
Yeah, high school.
Okay. Here in
Yeah.
Sharonville?
Yeah, no.
Fairfield? Okay. And what brought you to Jungle? This guy?
Yeah, he seems like a cool guy. I wanted to kick it with him in the podcast.
I love it.
This
I
is perfect.
love it.
No, I appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, for sure, man. This is tight. You have your cool little studio here. You got the wall behind you. You got the whole shablam.
I literally feel like the most privileged person on the planet every day. I come to
This
work. I'm like,
is
this is
cool.
my
I didn't
office.
know I was talking to a celebrity, but apparently I
It
am.
looks like it. This is a power move right here. Like just sitting here with the people just walking around, and you just have your little zone right here. This is cool. This is
I love that you love it.
yeah.
What's your favorite food memory?
Food memory.
Like if you walk in your house,
Oh, okay.
do you say, "Oh God, Mom's making whatever. I'm going out," or "Mom's making something and I'm sticking around"?
Yeah, no, you got to cancel all your plans when it comes to sopes. Sopes are so good.
So there you go.
Oh, can you describe those for the audience? / me.
And when are we going?
Exactly.
What time's supper?
Yeah, right.
So they're like handmade, like they're kind of like tortillas, not really. They're
Thicker?
a little thicker.
Okay.
They got like little dents on the side so the beans don't like spill. So
Cool.
it's got like you mush the beans and it's just kind of like a little more liquidy. You smear it on top and you can add like from different like you know, there's also no meat, but you know the way I like them is with steak. It's really good. You know,
that sounds
Get some
amazing.
steak in there, some cheese. I think it's Oaxacan cheese. I'm not too sure.
Okay.
Is that a
cilantro.
celebratory or every day? Like, is that something you would celebrate for a birthday or a holiday, or is that something that you would expect to eat on a fairly regular basis?
Not regular, because it is kind of a longer process. So it's not
Labor-intensive.
something you see every day. So whenever you eat, it's like, oh, okay.
Thanks,
if I
Mom.
had plans, I'm staying home. I'll cancel everything. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that sounds good though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm now trying to think of like what my mom would make, and I'm like, what would I stay?
There used to be, I don't get out this way, but there used to be a Mexican little grocery store, and it had a little carry out across the street from Jungle heading back towards the highway.
Oh, really?
Do you know where I'm talking
Las
about?
Palmas?
What is it?
Las Palmas, maybe? It's like,
It's a teeny little grocery store, and they made like 3 or 4 different kind of tacos. But they had the tongue. They did.
ooh, you've had tongue?
Yeah.
It's really good.
It's really
Yeah.
good. Yeah. So I mean, that was like. I hate to say that I'd come to Jungle and not eat here, but I'd buy everything and I'd grab some tacos on the way out.
I feel like that's kind of the Jungle vibe a little bit, though. It's like until we get like some more restaurants like in the building itself, because
Right.
I find that myself doing the same thing where I'm like, oh, I bought all the ingredients. I don't have a cooking place in my office, so all right, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, now I'm thinking about tongue too. So I'm really lucky. My neighbors are from Mexico, and they have a really great Mexican grocery store, like literally 300 feet from my doorstep. So all the time, they're just always trying something interesting. They're like, oh, have you tried this before,
In
Mark?"
Kentucky, you said?
Yeah, Gutierrez Deli. I'll shout them out right now. Like some of the best tacos I've ever eaten in my entire.
Where is it?
It is right off the 12th Street exit. Like
I know
right as you cross
exactly
into
where
it.
you
yeah.
are.
It's across the street from Wunderbar there. So a little it's a very funny pocket of culture. But while we're talking about it, their son Sergio just opened up an actual full taco restaurant a block away. But what I love about it is he mixes a little of what I would call like Americanized style into a lot of traditional stuff. So what's been cool to see in Covington is like people eating tongue now and stuff that I was like, I remember when they did goat birria one day, and I was just
birria.
like, I'm interested. Is the town interested? And what's been awesome is just seeing a neighborhood that I don't think was always known for its culinary adventurousness. But now to see it instead, people are just like raving about it and kind of getting interested in the culture, and it's thankful to having those neighbors who, I always love this story. As I was walking my dog around the block one night, and Sergio and his dad Claudio are outside, and they're just working on shrimp, and they're like, "Hey man, you want a bowl of shrimp?" And I was like, "I don't know, you guys. Hell yeah, I want a bowl of shrimp."
Sure, I
like,
trust you.
it was one of the most amazing things I've ever tasted. You know what I mean? It just,
Yeah.
really cool though. So.
You ever had,
Do you cook?
sometimes, nothing too crazy. Just nothing Hispanic I can cook. All I can do is an omelet. That's pretty much it. And
Okay,
make-
well, I just know
No, we
it's
gotta start
Cereal.
somewhere. What were you gonna ask if we had tried?
like Mexican style seafood.
No, not really. Outside of the shrimp story.
Yeah. No, it's good. We have like ceviche.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. So I have tried ceviche before.
yeah.
I'm an idiot.
So like tostadas de mixed mariscos. You
Okay.
had that? Yeah.
No, I'm not
Oh,
actually.
okay. They're good. There's like, there's like this place called I don't even remember the name, but it's just like it's just Mexican seafood, and it's like where they? I think it's Jalisco. No, or I'm pretty sure it's Jalisco. I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that.
No,
But
that's okay.
It's like
Everyone quote him.
Don't quote me.
like octopus.
Who are you?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like it's good. It's good. You should definitely give it a try. So,
I'm down. Seriously. Next time you come by here, we'll plan it. Come by close to my lunchtime.
All right.
I'm serious.
For real?
I'll go.
All right,
yeah,
bet,
dude, I'm
bet,
down.
bet. All right, that sounds tight. They're not that expensive too. They're like $5 one tostada.
I'm very interested.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
we can be friends. This
we'll
is
make it
real.
happen.
Yeah,
We'll make it happen.
I'm being serious.
Yeah,
I'm down.
You just busted in on a podcast,
Yeah.
so you know.
I think the audience is going to love this, though.
I got
I think
one
this is
foot
one
in
of
the
the.
door.
Well, we were joking about it before they came in. I'm like, this is kind of the best part of the jungle, realistically. It's like,
Getting
we'll just-
heckled in the studio.
Yeah, and then but then every so often we get to meet someone like you in detail, where it's like, oh, let me learn a little bit about your. I mean, look, you don't get to have that experience at some of the other big corporate stores,
Right, right.
Not to mention how many podcast studios are in the middle of a Kroger, for example. Zero, I think, as of right now.
Right.
So, Got to innovate. That's
You
so
see
cool.
Walmart with the podcast, they're just
I know I
copying
did
your
something
flow.
right, dude.
Right.
Well, that's awesome. I appreciate you coming in.
awesome.
Yeah,
Seriously.
for sure. Oh, sorry about that.
No, it's
Yeah,
okay.
For sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you having me. It's been great, man.
Yeah,
It's been great.
It'll be out next Wednesday, so
Oh, for
tune
real?
in. Yeah.
Oh, so I'm gonna be on this?
I mean, I
That's-
wasn't planning on. I might trim it a little bit, but
Okay.
no, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's tight, man. I
Yeah.
appreciate it so
Dude,
much.
My pleasure. Seriously,
Yeah,
thanks
you-
for coming
But
in.
you got to go spend money now.
Yeah, that's true. You have to.
What?
You're not
yeah.
allowed
Gotta
to
fund
just
my paycheck, so
you
get out there and
you-
buy
you
something.
can't just show up. You
Okay.
just got to go buy food.
I'll get one of the 17-cent water bottles.
There you go. That works too.
A little price magic. Well, awesome. Well, thanks. I appreciate
you
all
guys
stopping
have
in.
you guys have a good one.
You
Thank so
too.
much for having me.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah,
I
that
always
was
love
fun.
that. There's always something exciting going on.
That was awesome.
So to get back though to where we were, we talked about the challenges, but I guess ultimately my question was, I know we talked about volunteering. What would be your preferred way to have people get in touch with you?
Always email.
Okay.
Because I don't pick up the phone unless I know the number. I've
That
just
makes
gotten
two of
to,
us.
yeah. I was like, I can't do that anymore. And I just encourage people to get involved in whatever. If it's not in food rescue, if it's not in food, I believe, and especially in this season, obviously it's the season of gratitude and thanks.
Yeah.
That the people that are happiest, I just came back from a National Philanthropy Day awards ceremony. We nominated somebody that won, and the guy that won the supporter, I guess the head philanthropist of the year, he was moved telling his story to tears. Okay, he gives away a ton of money, but it was the story of how somebody that didn't have anything still gave.
Yeah.
And, he said, nothing will ever mean more to me than to know that this man that had nothing gave me crumpled up bill and dirty quarters and whatever to further the mission, because there's always somebody worse off than you are.
Yeah.
And, I kind of just preach that. Like, if you're really not having a good day, or if you're going through a really bad time, take yourself and go do something for somebody else, and you're going to feel better.
So
I mean,
true.
it's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
If you can make somebody's day a little bit better, just do it.
Are you trying to tell me that making a positive impact will make a positive impact on you as well?
I believe this to be true. I am not a psychology
right.
major.
Yeah, exactly.
I told you I was not smart.
But this is the soapbox I will also join you on. I totally agree with that. It's just like you
get
put
out of your own skin.
Exactly.
Give it away to somebody else. And that's what I said. I love doing like little random weird things. I know people, I know at least in Milford right now, it seems like a really big trend, like on our little Facebook page of South Milford. It seems like every day somebody's like, oh my God, somebody just bought my coffee, or somebody bought my donuts at Dunkin' today.
Yeah.
Like, and how good that actually, not that they were needy, but it just made somebody's day.
Yeah.
And it's like, just try it.
I
Might
think
work.
so many people get caught up on the when's it going to be my turn thing. And I'm right with you where I'm like, get out of yourself.
Yeah.
You got to take yourself out of the equation. Like it'll come around in some weird universal way at some point.
Well, I mean, I laugh at
expect
my
it.
own life now, because when I started La Soupe, it really was to get off the radar.
Right.
Because I felt like the foodie generation had hit. Everybody's blogging, everybody's Instagramming, everybody's Yelping, and
My apologies.
no, I mean, but it was just the way that food was going, and
Right.
it was so unsatisfying on so many levels
Yeah.
to me. And I just thought, I just want to go like hide in the country. Well, I was in Newtown. That's as close to the country as I could get.
Sure.
But it was like, I want to be off the radar.
Yeah.
I don't want to be on the radar. Now I'm like flipping on the radar every day. And that's a part that I had to I have to get used to it.
Sure.
It's like, I didn't do this to be on a camera or on a podcast.
Right.
It was just trying to figure out something that seemed fairly obvious to me, but like, again, the little voice behind going, well, if it was so easy, why isn't it being done? Well, there's plenty of people that already do that. Remember, there's tons of little voices firing off, but I didn't listen, obviously.
Good. Well, and I think
Obviously.
I think so many of us get caught up with those little voices instead. And they're just like, oh, yeah, you're probably right, me. There's no point in this. But no.
Yeah, if it was so easy, somebody would have done it.
Yeah. The thing is,
you don't
that's
know
not
till you
true.
try.
Right. And that,
I mean, who else would have put a podcast studio in the grocery store?
Yeah.
Right?
Jungle Gym, baby.
And I bet it's going to be a flipping home run.
It's been doing great so far, so I'm just excited.
I'm kind of guessing.
And seriously, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. Like, I know it's a busy time of year and everything, and
but
I just believe in your mission, and I was
appreciate
like,
it. I believe that Joni and Jim's heart has always been a big one.
Yeah.
And, they want to do the right thing. As I always say, like, if you don't want to do the right thing, just think of the hauling fees we can save people. Like, throwing food away. Actually, I listened to I was on NPR, and there was a story about how COVID almost killed Goodwill because everybody was at home going through their stuff because they couldn't do anything else.
Right.
And then at night, they were dropping it off at Goodwill's, and their hauling fees were over $8 million in 2020 because of COVID.
Yeah.
And it's like, we don't want your junk. Like, and so we say that to people too. Like, no, we don't collect food for pigs.
Right.
Like, we have an avenue to give to pigs,
Sure.
but that's not the mission.
Exactly.
So give us something we can use. Darn it. Darn it.
Right.
Darn it.
Well, now you're starting to swear.
Yeah.
We waited till
Darn
the end
it.
of the episode.
Darn it. I'm not going to swear any more than that. It's as bad as it's going to get.
Well, stay tuned for the uncensored edition of the show that we'll be doing after hours.
There you go.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Thanks,
Thank you
Mark.
so much, Suzy. Yeah, it was an absolute pleasure.
Appreciate
I
it.
truly believe in what you're doing, so thank you for doing it.
Oh, absolutely. I'm
I
happy.
look forward to coming down and visiting, too. This
You
will be
better.
fun. Oh,
I have your number.
Legit. Yes, you really do.
I do.
I am very excited about
And
it.
now that I know you're friends with Christian, I got a double number.
I know. Oh, gosh. That's good. Yeah, call him first, just in case.
There you go. There you go. That's all good.
I told you it was a beautiful story, and truly one of those classic jungle moments thanks to one of our lovely customers. I think it's so fun. I mean, if you've not seen the studio in person, I'm in a giant, well, Jungle talked about it in our very first episode. I'm a barracuda here swimming in the fishbowl, as it were. So I do get a lot of direct customer interaction. Sometimes they're banging on the windows, which, if you're listening, don't bang on the windows. That'll affect sound quality. But be polite. Well, you can wave, and then I'll usually just bring you in if you have something interesting to say. That's where I'm at with it. All right, everyone. It's been a fun one. Aren't they all fun? And of course, I've got more great stuff coming up on the show and working in, coming weeks. I'm working on a chocolate-focused episode because I really want to compare U.S. versus international chocolates, as I am never eating U.S. chocolate again if I don't have to. And I'll explain it in a future episode again. I'm teasing you here. Come on, get with me. Subscribe. I'm also thinking about doing some hot beverage coverage in the coming weeks from all over the world. If you don't know, we've got a great, expansive line of coffees from all over the world. Hot chocolates, tea, you name it, all of it. And I'm going to try and taste it all. And then hopefully you'll taste it as well. Again, these are all things that you can only find here at Jungle Jim's. That's what's so cool about this place. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. Thank you so much for the reviews. And, of course, if you want to reach out to me, it's real easy. Send me an email at podcast@junglegyms.com, or you can leave me a voicemail at 1-513-674-6855. And on that, I'll see you out in the aisles. The Jungle Jim's podcast is recorded in the WJJI studio inside Jungle Jim's International Market in Fairfield, Ohio. The Jungle Jim's podcast is produced and hosted by Mark Borison.